percent. It's been a stock which has been underperforming, down about 25% this year, finding some buyers at lower levels. The other one is SBI Life, a relative outperformer as compared to HDFC Life in the sense that it's positive for the year, but that one too has moved higher. But we do have some of these NBFCs doing a lot better. Fed Bank Fina, or Fed Financial Services, up 7.5%. The other one which is seeing some traction includes the likes of Blue Star or even Timken India, both of them up by about 2 to 3%. And guess who has them in their portfolios? We have Aniruddha Naha, who's the CIO alternates, PGIM Asset Management. Aniruddha, you might be feeling a lot better, especially the move that we've seen in Fed Fina. It's just about less than 10% away from its 52-week high. It's been one of the outperformers on the entire NBFC space, which is doing well because of this peace deal and lower bond yields. What's your sense? The next leg of rally comes in from NBFCs as against banks, or do you believe that banks continue their outperformance and NBFCs will just follow?
Thank you for this opportunity. We remain extremely convinced on the NBFC side. Basically, what happens is if inflation comes off, your cost of capital hopefully starts moving south, and NBFCs gain out of that. Clearly, they don't have to manage CASA, etc. So we would play NBFCs as probably one of our top the segments to play out there. And some of the names that you mentioned probably on the NBFC side, they also benefit from rising gold prices because they have gold as one of the segments that they participate in. So we remain extremely positive on the NBFC segment.
On the gold financer, that's an interesting point. How do you play it? There are the core lenders. The largest one out there has got a little bit expensive, so that's why that's pulled back from 4,000 to around 3,000. There is, a new marriage, so to call it, in the other one. They've got new leadership over there, and the hope is that Manappuram as well does well. And then there are various other pockets to play this gold financer theme. I noticed that you have Fed Fina, IFL Finance. I'm not sure whether Fed Fina, how big is the gold exposure, but you have other stocks like IFL Finance and some banking names as well that have a lot of gold. How would you play this theme?
So we generally, while picking up businesses, we look at how they have delivered and what is the quality of management over a period of time. We like to stick to the largest names here, given that the space generally is a small space. And within that, if I get a good business having corrected about 30%, I think so some of these names actually, the cleaner ones where we have a lot more confidence is something that we would want to stick to.
Okay, largest name, that would be Manappuram. No, that would be Muthoot. Apologies. That would be Muthoot. Apologies. The one that is corrected 30% from the top and the largest, cleanest name out there. Got it. Aniruddha, I wanted to ask you, what about the metals pack? In this last few months, actually, the pack has done very well because the street was focusing more on supply side restriction. And in the last 10 days, they got a little bit worried about demand destruction. Now things are up and going again. So demand destruction hopefully doesn't take place. And the global growth continues on the path that was earlier set out. How would you approach this pack? And did you play the special situation with regard to the metal conglomerate?
No, we've stayed away from the special situation. Our focus on the alternate side is largely on the mid and small cap space. Because on the alternate side, if a client is coming in, it doesn't make sense for me to go and dish him out some large caps which are easily available. When we look at the metal space generally across ferro and non-ferro, we believe unless the world goes into a real topsy-turvy, we believe the commodity cycle has just started. And generally commodity cycles rally over the next, they usually rally over 3 to 5 years. And in such a scenario, probably I think both ferro and non-ferro will continue to do well. In that, probably, the names that you reflected, there are players who benefit out of the electronic arc furnace route of steel making coming through. So there would be demand for electrodes out there. There are very, very interesting small and mid-cap names in the metal space. We've stuck to some of them. And we believe if someone really takes a 3-year view and if the global cycle doesn't really, tank off, I think some of these names across commodities should do very well over the next 3 to 5 years.
All right. And some of those will be the ancillaries, as you said, electric arc furnace, the shift from BF, blast furnace to electric arc furnace. Two names come to mind, HEG and Graphite India. And you've got, as per your recently disclosed holding, Graphite is a stock that you'll have in your portfolio as well. The play on EAF, electric arc furnace.
All right. Let's move away to things that people relate with at an intuitive level. that are some of the consumer discretionary and staples names that you have. One is Blue Star. Obviously, it is extremely hot right now. A lot of people believe that maybe this could be a summer which would do well for these guys after a lot of pain that we've seen in the last 3 or 4 quarters for them. Is that your thesis? Was the structural view here? And the second one is United Spirits. It's been a rank underperformer in an otherwise strong, macro a top-down approach for the country. If you look at any alcohol analyst, they would obviously bet on the demographic dividend, ease of regulations, and the low per capita income, etc. Rather low per capita consumption. United Spirits had the additional kicker of Royal Challengers Bengaluru as well, where they've unlocked value. But all of that, none of that rather, has caused the stock to move. So on that part and Blue Star, give me your thoughts.
On the, without naming, let's say, an AC company, we believe the underpenetration is actually very visible in India. And if someone really takes a little longer term view, not only the front-ending AC companies out there, even at the back end, there is a lot of value chain who will really benefit out of the underpenetration out there. In this season, of course, there is definitely a tailwind in terms of how temperatures have behaved in the country and how things move ahead. But even in a longer term, 3 to 5 year, or probably even longer, because these being consumer trends, if they can keep evolving in terms of their product, we believe these will not be extremely high growth names, but can they go ahead and deliver a 16-18% kind of growth sustainably over the next 5 years? We believe this segment definitely has the wherewithal to do that. At the back end, it is far more consolidated. It's only about 2-3 players out there, and hence the growth at the back end players could turn out to be even more interesting. So we remain very positive on this theme, the consumption part of it, especially through ACs or coolers or whatever it is, and the full value chain. Coming to spirits, without again talking about a single name, you are absolutely right. The thesis is the longer term play, how it plays out. I think India over the last 1.5 years, we've seen some, because markets haven't done very well also, the premiumization hasn't caught up. But over a period of time, if you look at any of the Western countries, you generally see premiumization catch up. Something which not many people are talking about, the penetration level of, let's say, even tequila in India has started moving up. Vodka was something people generally talk about, but tequila is the next thing that is. So we believe not only newer varieties of drinks come through, there will be premiumization. And probably the name that you are highlighting is one company which has vacated the full commodity space and focused largely on premiumization. As per capita GDP moves up, we continue to be extremely positive on how some of these premium players play out, along with the fact that you mentioned the cash flow that is coming through from the sale of RCB.
Just to add to that, we take that point entirely that, tequila, and we've been speaking to a lot of experts out here, doing a lot of academic research as well. Me by reading the labels and my co-anchor by drinking, emptying those bottles. But I have to ask you, a lot of the other mid-sized players also have increased their premiumization play. Some of them by either acquiring companies or the others by, increasing their brand presence. And those were available at a far cheaper valuation than the industry leader. Does that put the leader at a bit of a risk and makes the others a lot more attractive as bets?
See, actually, when you're talking about pricing, I'm assuming you're talking about the product price or the stock price. I'm not sure.
The stock price.
Okay. From a valuation perspective, last 2 years, frankly speaking, some of the mid-cap names out there and to be large caps probably in the next couple of years or 3 years or 5 years are at almost par with where probably the leader is. Having said that, if you go down to small caps, and probably a little smaller than the small caps, also what we call as micro caps, there are very interesting plays out there, companies which are just started the premiumization process. And I had mentioned this earlier also, there are plays where not only is the premiumization happening, there is also an ethanol story which is playing out in some of these companies, because they are producing ethanol also, and it is, they can swap between the Indian liquor part of it and ethanol. So if someone really goes down the value chain, there are very interesting plays. And when we go down the value chain, we generally like to see both the segments being present. At least if liquor doesn't sell, you've got ethanol to sell out there.
Gentlemen, it's a Monday afternoon. Please, let's get back to the markets. But thanks a lot for that in-depth explanation. Mangalam, the teetotaler as well, is pretty much cued in to all of that. And I'll tell you what, tequila, one thing I know he knows for sure is that it's low in terms of calories.
Yeah.
So if he does, I'll let you know. Thanks a lot for joining in. Wishing you a good remainder of the day.
Thank you.
Well, time to slip into a short break. As always, we'll get you some trades, buy-sell trades from our technical expert. Stay tuned.